Okay, so think about this for a second. A major city, lots of traffic, people everywhere. And for an entire year, not one single person died in a traffic accident.
Ugh.
Zero. It almost sounds, well, impossible, doesn't it, in today's world?
Yeah, it really does. But it actually happened. We're talking about Helsinki in Finland. And this wasn't just, a fluke or good luck. It's the result of some really deliberate long-term thinking. A citywide effort, really. So in this deep dive, we're going to unpack how they did it, what actually went into achieving that.
Exactly. That's our mission today. Dig into the strategies, look at the history behind it, the continuous work involved, and maybe most importantly, what can you, listening right now, take away from this? It's a story about making intentional changes, proving that maybe some impossible goals aren't so impossible after all. Let's get into it.
Right. So this amazing statistic, the full year with 0 traffic deaths in Helsinki, it's built on something solid. That specific year-long period actually ended this past July. The last tragedy, the last fatality happened in a district called Kontula. And like I said, it's really important to stress, this isn't just random chance. It's pinned directly to a very comprehensive approach. The city, the residents working together.
That context is so vital because Helsinki wasn't always like this.
Yeah.
Not at all. If you go back, say, to the 1980s, it was a completely different story. Back then, they were seeing around 30 traffic deaths every year. And that's just fatalities. Hundreds more injuries, serious crashes. Just think about that number, 30 people a year. That's 30 families getting devastating news year in, year out.
Absolutely. And, things had started getting better gradually over the years. Even before the big push, their public transport, buses and trams got a lot better. So fewer people were driving personal cars day to day. That naturally lowered the risk a bit. Plus, cars themselves just got safer, better tech, airbags, all that stuff helped protect passengers more in a crash.
Okay, so there were some positive trends already happening. But still, even with those improvements, people were dying in traffic. It was still a regular tragic occurrence. You can just imagine those awful phone calls officials had to make, telling someone their loved one wasn't coming home just from a normal trip out.
Yeah.
It was clearly still a huge problem.
Yeah.
So what was the next step? What really shifted things to get them towards 0?
That's when they really doubled down on specific safety strategies. A huge part of it was looking seriously at speed limits. They started lowering them significantly on more and more city streets. We're not talking about shaving off a couple of miles per hour. In many places, they went from, say, 30 miles per hour all the way down to 18.
18 miles per hour. Wow. And you can see how that would make a massive difference. There's a quote from Roni Utrianen, he's a traffic engineer there. He basically said, lots of things helped, but speed limits are one of the most important. But is there something specific about that 30 down to 18 number? Like a scientific reason why that particular drop is so effective?
Oh, absolutely. It comes down to human survivability, really. The data is pretty stark. If a pedestrian gets hit by a car doing 30 miles per hour, their chance of dying is something like 80%. It's incredibly high. But drop that speed to 18 miles per hour, the survival rate jumps to over 90%. So Helsinki's approach wasn't just about slowing traffic. It was fundamentally about designing for human mistakes and our physical limits, prioritizing survival. That's basically the core idea behind Vision Zero, which they embrace.
Well, yeah, that 80% versus 90% survival rate, that really hits home. It explains the why very clearly. Okay, so speed limit's a massive factor, but I'm guessing it wasn't only about signs and speed limits. What else did they do? Did they change the roads themselves or how they enforce the rules?
Yeah, exactly. It was definitely a combination. A really big piece was using data much more effectively. They analyzed crash data meticulously to figure out why and where accidents were happening. This let the city planners redesign older, maybe less safe street layouts, things like converting tricky intersections into simpler roundabouts, maybe, or using shared space ideas in busy pedestrian zones to naturally calm traffic. They weren't just guessing, they were targeting the problem spots identified by the data.
And that sounds like it extended beyond just cars. What about making things safer for people walking or cycling? Just painting a white line on a busy road doesn't always feel that safe,
Right, exactly. They went much further. We're talking about creating properly safer spaces. Think physically separated bike lanes, not just painted ones, wider sidewalks, crossings that are designed to be much clearer and safer to use. It's about building safety into the design itself, making the safe way the easy way. And yes, they also ramped up enforcement. More traffic cameras, automated speed checks, basically making sure the new rules and designs were respected.
It really paints a picture of a very long-term commitment. Like Utrianen also said, the direction has been positive for years. This wasn't an overnight success story. It was built over time. What does that look like, that sustained effort?
Well, it looks like steady progress. year-on-year improvements. For instance, a really telling statistic is that back in 2019, Helsinki actually recorded 0 pedestrian deaths in traffic. That was a few years before this overall zero fatality year. It shows they were already making huge strides, building momentum. It suggests they really embedded this safety focus deep into how the city operates. It became part of the culture.
And cities change,
Yeah.
right? New challenges pop up. So Helsinki couldn't just rest on its laurels. They needed to keep adapting their approach. How do they handle new things that might affect traffic safety? Is there an example?
That's a great point. Yes, they have to stay agile. A perfect example is electric scooters. You know how quickly those appeared everywhere almost overnight? They brought completely new ways people moved around and, well, new potential risks, too. Helsinki didn't just react, they were proactive. They brought in specific rules, speed limits for scooters in busy areas, designated parking spots, even running campaigns about using them safely. It shows they're constantly thinking, constantly updating their safety toolkit.
So Helsinki, a whole year, 0 traffic deaths. It really is an incredible achievement. And it came from this smart, persistent, multi-pronged strategy that puts human life first. It really gives you a sense that maybe these huge, difficult goals, maybe they are achievable with the right approach. It opens up possibilities.
Absolutely. And you have to ask, if Helsinki can pull this off, what does that tell us about our own potential? Our potential to rethink how our cities are designed, how we prioritize life, how we foster that sense of shared responsibility. What's so compelling here is that mix the policy, the physical changes to infrastructure, and getting the public on board. It's that whole system working together.
Exactly. It's holistic.
Yeah.
So maybe it's something for you to think about. Look at your own community, your own environment. What parts of it could be radically transformed, radically improved if we brought that same kind of data-driven, focused, collaborative commitment to a single vital goal?